I want to show you a neat way to save those old tubes of watercolor paint. My mother, I inherited from her a number of really old tubes, and they are hard on the inside, because watercolor just does that after a while. And what I have done, and this is what I'd like to show you, if I can, and if there's anything wobbly inside, meaning that I can squeeze out the watercolor, then I put it in a bowl and leave it for a little while so that this paint will sort of melt like watercolor does. And then sometimes I can take the top off. If not, these were my daddy's best pliers. So I take the pliers, and get it off that way. Now, the deal with watercolor is that it really doesn't go bad. And I have told my students that they can open up the tubes and then take those blobs, and if they have any moisture in them, they can push them into, I like to put them in the corner. Mother taught me to do that so that they harden here. And when I'm ready to paint, I go whoop, whoop, and then the moisture penetrates the top of it. And then I'm ready to paint, and I have this area right here where the water accumulates and I can load my brush. I had promised my students that I would teach them some Zoltan Szabo techniques. And so I've been reading Zoltan. I had studied with him several times, and Mother had studied with him several times. So if you're going to do Zoltan's paintings, then you need to use the colors that he talks about in his different demonstrations. This is one that I'm working on now that I started with my students, and it's 2 steps from being complete. So if you, again, if you're working with a certain artist's colors, you need to work with his colors. So here's the trick I want to show you. This is too hard to squeeze out. So what I do, and these paints are probably, my mother's been gone for about 10 years, and she probably had these long before she stopped painting. So I'm going to say they're probably conservatively 20 years old or more, because she painted a lot in her lifetime. So what I do, I cut that side, and then I very carefully peel. Look, isn't that just great? Let me see. I put it over the white so you can see better. Isn't that wonderful? This color is burnt umber. So again, this was a palette, a Zoltan Szabo palette that Mother had, and she really liked it. And what I like about it is that when he calls for using a 3-inch brush, you can mix your color in here, and it receives 3 inches, or 1.5, or 3 inches. And so anyway, this is, that was the tag that was on it a bazillion years ago. So what I did, I've done the new gamboge. Now I have already begun cutting the tube of the burnt umber, and I just slid it down the side with these kind of shears. And so I cut it down the side, I opened it up, and then you can peel the sides of the tube back and have your paint probably sticking out just like this. And now I'm going to pull that out and press it into the burnt sienna, wherever that is. Where is that? Burnt sienna well for my colors. And it will smush. I can tell by the see, it kind of bends a little bit, so I know that it's going to smush down into that well just like the new gamboge does. So if you want to save tubes of paint in watercolor, it will save you a lot of money. If you go to a yard sale and see old tubes, do not throw them out. If they're a little bit crumbly, like so they're really, really old, I will put them in the well, put the particles or whatever into the well, and I will spray it with my mister, and then I will drop a little bit of gum arabic on the top of the mass of colored particles, and that gum arabic will serve to rebind the pigments together so that I can lift them up and paint with them. So that's the way things work, and gum arabic is the binder in these tubes when they were well, it's still the binder, and because there'll be some pigment and some filler and some gum arabic or a different binder, and so you can save a lot of paint this way. Have fun. Bye now.